Please note, for maximum picture quality, it may be necessary to adjust the tracking control on your VCR.
Hello kiddies, boils and ghouls. You know, after a long day I like to take a tip from my friend Aylmer. Take a long bath, meet a friend for a meal. Be careful not to get too attached. You never know who is going to be on the menu. Tonight's putrid picture concerns a man in love who is so concerned with trying to find his next high, he may just lose his mind. That is, if he can't find someone else's. We call this two-header brain damage. Quiet on the set. Deathly quiet. Welcome to A Just Ghoul Terror, a spookcast where we're on a scary adventure to watch horror movies the whole of Spooktober, the scariest month of the year. I am Boxing Hell Liam, Dead Laney, and with me is my assistant.
Hello, I'm Olvera.
I was going to go with Jones O'Lantern.
Oh, that's better. That's better than what I came up with.
Welcome to the Halloween special.
I've actually been watching a lot of Elvira stuff because obviously she's.
Have you?
Yeah, well, she's released a book, hasn't she? And
yeah,
I love Elvira. She's wicked. They've uploaded. There's loads of her like specials and shows on Amazon Prime, so I've just been watching that because I think that
cool.
She always like covered like public domain films, didn't she, and stuff like that. So
yeah.
Like there's like Night of the Living Dead and stuff like that's on there and stuff, and you get to watch it with her kind of, it's a bit MST3K or whatever, kind of chatting a bit over it.
Okay.
And there's like little bits in between, like of a little storyline of her kind of doing something.
I don't think I've ever seen her like actual show. I know like her just because her image,
Yeah.
More than anything else, but I don't.
I mean, let's put it out there.
It.
She still looks great to this day.
I bet she does.
She's in her 70s.
Did we meet her?
She looks amazing. No,
Is there
no
chance we met her?
No, we met like an English equivalent at a Comic-Con like about 20 years ago or whatever, and she had a very similar name, but it was Eleni or I don't know, something like that. But she was like, I think if I'm correct, she was in a film called Razorblade Smile, which I think had music from Cradle of Filth.
Wow.
And I've forgotten the director. He did some stuff on ABCs of Death. Did you see those?
I did see those, yeah.
Yeah, and he definitely did. I mean, what's Razorblade Smile?
Jake West is the director of that.
That's it, yeah. So
and the lead was Eileen Daly?
That's her, yeah. We met her at a Comic-Con, yeah. And I think we got her autograph and we're like, who are you?
Who are you?
We got it anyway.
I can't quite believe you can remember that so well.
Yeah, I do. Because I remember the guy opposite drew us some Batman pictures as well. He worked on Batman. It wasn't Dave Taylor.
He worked for Batman.
Yeah, he did another one. I think he did Judge Dredd and stuff like that and The Crow.
Oh, nice.
I've got a really stupid memory. I can't remember anything important, but like just stupid things like that I can remember.
That's fine. Speaking of Batman, though, guess what happened this week, Ollie?
Oh, that famous meme of Randy Marsh from South Park when he's sitting on the chair.
Yes.
After he's climaxed. That was me on Saturday.
Was it really Saturday? Was it that long ago?
I think it was. Now,
the DC Fandome.
Right, yeah. So you could probably say that the trailer's a bit edgelordy because it's kind of a bit.
I actually kind of agree. Yeah,
and I'm normally against that kind of thing because I'd also say that Zack Snyder's films are in that vein as well.
Yeah,
but
sure.
I can't explain it, but I love the look of this film. It looks kind of like a mix between, like, say, Nolan's Grounded, but then also the fantastical elements of like the Burton one's kind of in a really cool mix. And I just think it looks really cool and it's like quite unique, like compared to like what Marvel's delivering. No, not to diss on them too much, but like everything they do looks very similar and stuff. This just feels very different and very visceral.
I liked using Liverpool actually. Like I could spot
Yeah.
like Liverpool architecture in it,
And Glasgow, isn't it? It's all
Glasgow,
in
yeah.
Britain, which is cool.
I did like that. I thought that was a good look for
Yeah.
what I think Batman lives in, kind of thing. I don't know. I said my takeaway of this film is it looks very much like Batman. I'm not sure like anything else. I think Colin Farrell looks like he's having a fucking ball. That seems quite fun.
I mean, you could probably look at that and show it to anyone, and they wouldn't know who it was. I mean, obviously they'd know the Penguin, but like they wouldn't know what actor was underneath the makeup. Like if you look at the Penguin, Danny DeVito Penguin, everyone was like, "Yeah, it's Danny DeVito. You haven't done anything to him." But like,
it looks fun.
Yeah.
I want it to be good. I want that. That at the end of the day, I just want it to be good. So,
well, yeah. I mean, like I consider us very lucky that we got the Nolan trilogy. I know some people are mixed on the third one. I'm a person that's warmed to that a lot more over the years, but it still doesn't have enough Batman in a Batman film for my liking.
Yeah, sure.
Like, I think I once, because I'm that sad, I kind of counted roughly how many minutes he's in costume in that film, and it's something like 18 minutes in like a 3-hour movie, which is
sure.
And apparently in this film he's in the suit more than he's like in Bruce Wayne attire.
Okay.
Because it's a guy that's he's so obsessed with being Batman that he's. I mean, this is all rumor. I don't know if this is true.
Yeah.
And then there's also talk that there's another villain in it that's like that we don't even know who's in it. Like a bigger kind of threat that's hidden in there.
A lot of the rumors are that they're adapting Hush, isn't it? Like that.
Oh, is it
keeps on coming out.
Hush?
Yeah.
See, I heard it. I heard it was Court of Owls.
Okay, that'd be fun.
Yeah, because Hush. I don't know. Did you see the animated Hush?
No, I did not. The last time I engaged with Hush was the comics. Like that's which must be about 20 years old or something now. Something ridiculous.
Well, yeah, it's probably when we properly got back into comics around that time, I reckon. And I don't think that story's. I don't think it was that good to begin with. It was just Jim Lee's artwork at the time. Everyone was like,
I liked it. It doesn't mean it's the best story ever, but I like a Batman story with a mystery, and that had a nice kind of mystery box element to it, and it had a bit like I think it brought people back to Batman loads because it had a bit of what do I call it kind of went through the cast of characters. It kind of reintroduced you to all the kind of villains again. It was a big nice resetting point for Batman, and I think it did that really well. So,
well, every issue, like the cover was, you either had, you had all the Rose Gary on each cover, didn't you? So like, you had him strangling Joker, then there's another one with Poison Ivy, like got him like all
Poison Ivy, Clayface, and like
even Superman,
Yeah, I think I think it did a really good job of just centering Batman again after the kind of the 90s, like No Man's Land and all that stuff.
Yeah, but like I was saying, the Nolan trilogy I thought was great, and then we got the Zack Snyder films, which didn't quite nail Batman in my opinion. Like I said, I kind of enjoyed Justice League, the new version to a point, but
it doesn't feel like Ben Affleck's been Batman for like I don't know how many fucking years it's been. Like,
well, he got cast in 2013 or
13 something. Was it? Yeah, I was going to say 8 years. So.
And he keeps saying I'm not doing it, but yet we know he's in the Flash.
Yeah,
as Batman. What did you think of that trailer, by the way? Seeing as we're talking trailers,
I didn't think much of the Flash one. I've got big issues with the Flash anyway. Like I was talking to a friend about this the other day. It's like I hate what they did to Wally West so much, and I hate how I hate how any depiction of Barry post like Flashpoint is just like Wally West basically. And like Barry isn't that. Barry's like the most clean cut, boring, like most genius, most like the most top of the class genius, square cut, like perfect icon to a point that you can't really have him alive because he's meant to be such like a kind of perfect human. Yeah, that he serves so much more being like a legacy, a target, as someone for Wally to look up to than he actually serves alive. And I just find it really weird to have like Barry Allen as a teenager in 2020. I'm like, that's not Barry Allen. Barry Allen's like a 40-year-old man who was perfect, and that's how he should be, kind of. So I just always get a bit annoyed with Flash stuff because I'm like, you're diluting Flash by not having it Wally and having Barry as like a dead person, basically. Like saying that, him out racing death is one of the best things ever written in comics. I think it's fucking amazing. Like, it's so fun, genius, and it actually did make me cry. And comics don't always make me cry, but it did. So not to say that there was some good writing, I just think it dilutes the brand or something.
The Flashpoint animated film wasn't too bad, actually. It's one of the better ones they've done, but that's quite old now. It's probably 10 years old itself now, anyway. But I don't get what's going on with his costume in this one. And there seems to be 2 Ezra Miller Flashes in it, so I don't know if they're going to
3 maybe.
That one becomes a villain. I don't know if they'll do that. One is Earbard or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. I can imagine want to be a Zoom or Reverse Flash or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hope it's, again, like, I fucking love the Flash. Like, I do.
Yeah.
I just want it to be good. Make Flash films and make them good. Like, you should be on your 5th Flash film now. Like, it's fucking ridiculous.
Well, like,
I can't believe it's just been in this kind of stasis for fucking decades.
Well, I didn't think he was that bad in the newer version of Justice League, going back to that. But again, like you said, he's not Barry. He doesn't come across as like Barry to me anyway. But
no, not to me either. No, it's just weird to me. It's like, when you watch The Green Lantern with Hal Jordan as Ryan Reynolds, you're like, you're not Hal Jordan.
Yeah.
Like, what? You're just Ryan Reynolds. And I just think about this when I watch like Ezra Miller. I'm like, you're not Barry Allen. You're just like a Flash. Like, but I don't know. I think that's my nerdiest complaint about comics, is that, because I'm just really passionate about those Flash comics. So.
What the trailers have been, I know.
Well, there was a brief cut of Shazam, wasn't there? Black Adam.
Oh yeah, that one looks pretty good, Shazam. Well, I really like the last one.
Well, no, sorry, there's 2, isn't there? There's the Shazam sequel with Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu, which I think looks awesome.
I'm down for that.
Yeah.
But like I said, like, I loved the first Shazam. It was a nice.
It was great.
Fresh air.
Yeah.
It's a shame. I hope Mr. Mind's in it, or Dr. What's
Me
it?
too.
Mr. Mind.
I hope Mr. fucking Mind's in it. God.
So that was a nice.
I want to see Mr. Minds on the big screen so badly.
But it looks like they've definitely injected more money into this one, because everything looks a lot bigger than the first one. Because the first one was quite contained, wasn't it? Yeah, she does. And then
there was the Black Adam teaser, which I'm not sold on.
Oh yeah, you did actually see a sequence, didn't you, where he kind of like
him kind of waking up or
engaging.
something.
Yeah, it didn't. I don't know. His costume looks weird. I don't know if I can't get past The Rock being The Rock. I don't know.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Honestly, maybe 20 years ago, 15 years ago, I think I would have been up for it. But now, I don't think Rock can get past being The Rock. He doesn't do any character that's complicated or villainous or anything. Like, he just plays everything like The Rock, really. And then Black Adam is a very, very good, very complicated character.
Complex character, yeah.
And a really good character. Like, when you talk about like really well written and strong like comic book characters, Black Adam is absolutely up there as one of the best, so you better fucking bring it, whatever you're doing. It better not just be The Rock in a black suit, And I've said this before, and this is weird, but if Black Adam was like, I don't know how to say this. Basically, it should be someone from the Middle East playing Black Adam. It should be like an Arab guy. It should be like someone from Egypt.
I don't. Yeah.
I think it's weird to just cast a Polynesian guy, like a black Polynesian guy, because that's not the part of the world Black Adam's from. Quite strongly not from that. Like, it's very tied to his identity that he's an Arab. I just find it weird. And I don't know if the term's whitewashing, and I've literally heard no one else complain about this, but I just find it a bit odd. Again, it feels like casting from like 15 years ago. I feel like if you're casting it now, you would be like, well, he's from Egypt. Let's cast someone from Egypt.
If I'm like, from the comics though, they always draw him as a white guy normally, don't they?
Probably.
I'm pretty sure, but I don't know.
I just find it weird. I just find, like, in this day and age when we're trying to do better with casting, I do find it a bit weird to cast, you know, any ethnic minority as another ethnic minority, I guess.
To be fair, actually, looking at some images on Google, they do kind of draw him a bit different than a white guy. So yeah, so you're right, I think.
I think if this was like, you know, if it was a Japanese character, they wouldn't be casting just anyone. I think that's got some way that's got a bit more weight to it. You know, we've kind of woken up a little bit more to Eastern Asian characters, but I think when we're looking at South Asian and Middle Eastern, I think we've still got a bit way to go, maybe, to actually understand that you can cast people from different places. I mean, his name's Teth Adam, isn't it? Like, he's meant to be very Egyptian, but I don't.
Because I don't think people like, because Adam just, it sounds like just a regular dude, doesn't it? Like the name.
Sure. Though it is a Middle Eastern name. It's like...
but not the only Adam that's coming out. You got Adam Warlock coming as well.
Have you? Are they actually going to do that finally?
Yeah. What's his name?
Because it was teased at the end of 2, wasn't it?
Yeah, but they've cast him. It's the kid. Well, he's not a kid anymore, but he was in Son of Rambo, and he was Will something. Will.
Oh, Will Poulter.
Poulter, yeah.
I quite like Will Poulter. Yeah.
Yeah, he's good. He's been cast as.
That's cool. That's cool.
But yeah, speaking of trailers, and as it's horror, did you see the horror trailer that was Home Sweet Home Alone?
Yes, I did. You know I did. I sent it to you.
Yes, but the audience don't work privy to our conversations.
Yeah, it looks great. I think it's going to be a great film that's going to be a fantastic part of the Home Alone franchise that we all look forward to.
I look forward to my annual viewing of all 5 movies, and now I get to add a 6th now to my marathon every year.
Yep, and can't wait to see Buzz again.
So do you
Macaulay's going to be in it? Definitely.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I think my bet would be that Macaulay is going to play the. It's not Robards in the original, is it?
Like the old man Marley.
Yeah,
is he going to be?
Macaulay will play like the kind of creepy, nice old man next door or something.
The creepy 40-year-old man boy next door.
He's older than 40.
No, he turned 40 this year or last year.
Did he?
Yeah.
God.
Do you not see all the memes going around going, do you feel old? I'm 40 now. Or something like that.
I don't remember anything. I don't remember what I did this morning.
But anyone out there, I actually genuinely love Home Alone. It's like I love the first Home Alone. The second one, a lot of people like the second one. I don't particularly like the second one at all, really.
I had fond memories of it. Then I watched it last Christmas, and it is not good.
It's so obnoxious. Like, Kevin as a character is supposed to be a bit obnoxious, but it's dialed to 11 in that film. And I think he's so aware of his popularity as himself as Macaulay Culkin. I think that kind of didn't help really. And then the other trailer I thought we could talk about was Resident Evil, whatever it's called, the new one. What's it called? Resident Evil something.
Has it got a tag?
I thought it was just called
Resident Evil.
Welcome to Raccoon City. That's it.
Isn't that? I thought that was the title of the Netflix show. Because there's a Resident Evil movie and Resident Evil Netflix show coming out at the same time.
Oh. It looks like the feature film is called Welcome to Raccoon City, I think.
Okay.
I could be wrong. Is the one coming to Netflix like a CGI one then or something? One of those awful looking CGI films?
I thought it was live action. I thought it was a series.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
I thought it was a serial. Serial? Because we're in the 50s.
See, when I heard about this film, I thought this was the Netflix one, but no, apparently this is like a cinema release, and it looks terrible.
And they're releasing it like, I don't know. Oh, maybe it is a CGI. The Infinite Darkness, Resident Evil Infinite Darkness.
I don't know.
I'm just looking at. No, it is. They might be humans. They might be CG. I can't tell. I think
they've done a good job. Resident Evil is such a weird thing. Like, I love the games because they're fun games, but that's where it ends. Like when it trying to translate that to film, it just.
Oh, I'm a bit of a defender of the W.S. Anderson ones.
No.
Like they're insane, and I think that's kind of fun. But it doesn't, like, just because they're called Resident Evil doesn't mean I have to compare it to, like, the games, basically, because they're not. They're its own thing.
Well, I mean, the games are insane. The plots of those are so bonkers.
But that's the thing. I was thinking, like, everyone's like, oh, it's going to be more like the games. I'm like, I can tell you that the one thing I did not care about was the story.
It's just shooting zombies in the head is what you enjoy playing that game for.
Getting scared, turning a corner, running away, going shit, and trying to find a herb and a typewriter. That's my experience of Resident Evil. I couldn't give a shit about the intricacies of like fucking Umbrella Corporation, whatever the hell's going on. Like, turn the corner and there's some zombie dogs now and there's zombie plant and you gotta kill the zombie plant. That's what I care about.
But just in terms of those films, the Paul W.S. Anderson ones, I couldn't stand them. And I've seen them all. Well, no, actually, I haven't seen the last one, to be fair. But I
think I've seen 1 and 8 or something.
I think some of them literally just filmed in one set because the budget's that low. Like there's one where, have you seen the one where they're in like a white room and they have like a big, huge martial art fight sequence? And you can tell it's shot for 3D. That's the best thing I've ever seen on film. And the CGI and the effects are like, whoa.
It's fucking amazing.
Just look it up on YouTube, folks. It's incredible.
It's the best.
But they actually took shots directly from the video game as well for those fight scenes. Yeah.
The new trailer is that just constantly like, do you remember this? Do you remember this? And it's like,
you love liquors, don't you? Here's a liquor.
I forgot about liquors. I forgot they were called liquors. What are the kind of gremlins called? What are they called again?
When you played the second
Hunters.
one. Hunters. That was the first one. But there's the liquors in the second one. It's like when you walk in, you just go, you get into the police station and you get into one room and you walk past a window and like it's only a few seconds, but you see something scuttle past the window and you're like, oh, what the fuck?
Oh, yeah. See,
and then you turn around a corner and this fucking thing stabs you in the chest and it just goes, you died. And you're like, oh, shit.
See, the problem with the video, I love video games. I play video games all the time, but like video games adaptations have a severe problem in the fact that I'm not playing the video game.
Yeah. I just don't
and
think
it really makes a difference. It really does make such a huge difference. And maybe one day they'll fucking nail it. I don't know. Maybe Chris Pratt is Mario and we're all going to celebrate it. But like, I don't know. It just seems silly to me. It just seems like trying to make money, I guess, or something.
So, do you think Chris Pratt's going to do like a pizza face voice or something? Like, is he
going to
is he going to go wah wah wee? Oh.
He can't just be Chris Pratt. He's playing fucking Mario. He has to do Mario. We all know what Mario sounds like.
But what's the point getting Chris Pratt to do that when there is a guy who does that voice and he's done it for years?
He is Mario.
Yeah.
Literally has been forever.
I think that guy has been cast in the film as
he has.
I think.
Yeah.
But that seems like a kick in the face. I bet he was like, I can imagine how sad he was when he found out that he wasn't married, but he was so excited.
I don't think.
And he was like, "Mamma mia,
Mamma mia." I don't think Charles is it Martinet or Martinet? Maybe it should be Martinet, surely. I don't think he's ever been sad in his life. If you ever seen like a picture of him, he's the happiest man in the world.
He does have very rosy cheeks, doesn't he?
And every time we interview him, he just loses it. You start going, "Hi Charles, how are you?" And he's like, "Oh, pizza pie. I thought the pizza pie." And it's like, you go off. That's why they couldn't cast him for Mario. He would never stick to the script. He'd be just going.
Did you ever used to watch the Mario shows when you were a kid, and it had live action actors as Mario and Luigi in between the cartoon bits?
Yeah, I kind of remember them. I kind of remember them. I definitely saw some episodes of it when I was young, but I remember the cartoon better than Lou Albano. You know, because it used to be Lou as Mario in between. I don't really remember seeing that, but I remember watching the cartoon.
Right.
If that makes any sense.
There was one episode which had, you know, Maurice LaMarche, the famous voiceover artist. He played Inspector Gadget in one of them. It was so odd.
Talking of Inspector Gadget, the new Indiana Jones movie is apparently a time travel movie, which I think sounds fun.
Time travel movie? So do you think they'll do some like Irishman style CGI
maybe
shenanigans on?
I would almost put money on a CGI Sean Connery being in it.
Really? Do you think they'd do that?
I don't know. I think they might. I can see it. Who knows? I think it'd be shit because I think there's CGI monsters. Next topic.
Well, it's weird, like bringing back characters like that who are dead. Like, have you seen the new International Ghostbusters trailer?
No.
And there's definitely like an actor who's playing Egon in it.
Oh,
and
Egon's 1,000% in that movie.
But I don't know if they've got an actor and they're just going to like hide his face, or if they're going to actually
do some fucking bullshit. It's going to be a CGI monstrosity, isn't it?
I don't know. I don't think they'd do that unless they could do it properly. I think they've got to. People will turn on them quite drastically if they mess that up, I think. So I don't think you'll actually see Egon's face as such.
Oh, I bet you do. I bet you he does. I bet he's just a full ghost.
No, I reckon they'll have his
best friends
voice.
with Muncher.
I reckon they'll get audio and kind of create his voice, a bit like how they
they'll
did
do that.
Skywalker or something
Definitely.
like that. But I don't know if you'll see his face properly. But
I definitely think you will.
I don't know.
We'll see.
He's another guy like the Mario guy that if you ever see him like in interviews and that, he's just always got a big, huge, beaming smile on his face.
We're going back to Charles Martinet.
Yeah. But now I'm talking about Howard Ramis. But
Howard Ramis. Talking of like, because I watched Halloween Kills, and
is it any good?
No, it's fucking awful. It's absolutely awful. It's one of the worst films I've ever watched.
Wow.
It's really, really bad. It's one of the worst. I've watched all the Halloweens like this year. It's one of the worst of the Halloween films. It might be better than Resurrection, but Resurrection does have Busta Rhymes.
Is that the one where it's like Big Brother or something? And he's like a TV executive.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's and like they killed Jamie Lee Curtis in the first like second of the film.
Yeah, because these new ones are like they act as if like 2 onwards didn't happen. Is that right?
No, they happen as if they only classify 1 as the I don't know.
Yeah, so these are all sequels to the first one.
To this first film, which I didn't mind the Halloween 2018. To be honest, I thought it was all right. This one is just shitty. It feels like the director doesn't want to make horror.
But he must do because he's invested enough to do a trilogy of it.
He's invested enough in the iconography of the fucking Carpenter film. That's what he's invested in. That's all they're using. That's it. Like,
it's a shame because I like him as a director normally.
And like Michael Myers doesn't even like move like Michael Myers. Michael Myers moves just like anyone in a mask. It doesn't feel like fucking Michael Myers at all.
But that's weird because in the first one, isn't he like played by like you just put the mask on and just run over there, and then like I think even John Carpenter wears it at some point. I don't know. Like so many people played him in The Shape in the first one.
The Shape, yeah, it was normally Nick Castle though, wasn't it? Like Nick Castle was the guy who's actually credited as The Shape, and Nick Castle plays him in this at some key scenes, but a lot of it. Oh really? Doesn't. Yeah, there's a big section where it's definitely Nick Castle. That's
probably why he's an old man now. Like that's 40 odd years ago.
Well, no, those scenes he's moving right. It's the scenes where it's not him. He just doesn't move like Michael Myers. He moves just like just a killer, just a standard slasher killer. It's weird to describe, but like it's just like the quickness of his movement, the intent of his movement. It's just very not Michael Myers, and it just feels like that. And the whole film has this stupid political commentary on mob mentality and MAGA and shit, and I hated it. I hated it so much. It's so boring. So much of the film is dedicated to stuff that's nothing to do with anything. Like Jamie Lee Curtis is not the lead of this fucking film. It is bloody Anthony Michael Hall. Like,
is he in it?
Yeah, he's playing Tommy, who's the kid that Jamie Lee Curtis is babysitting in the first film.
Didn't Paul
It's
Rudd
so
play him in one of them?
Fucking obsessed with the first film. Like,
Didn't Paul Rudd play him as well?
Tommy, is Paul Rudd playing Tommy when
He played Tommy in one of them in like 5 or 6.
It's 6 that Paul Rudd's in. I just wasn't aware that he was playing
apparently
Tommy.
All I knew is they wanted him back for this film, but he chose to do Ghostbusters instead. So they were going to cast him, but
I can imagine. They're so fucking. It's just it's shit. But the reason I'm bringing it up is because they have bloody Loomis in it. They have they show scenes from Halloween 1 that you didn't see on screen, and they cast someone as Loomis, as Donald Pleasance.
Oh no, you can't
and
replace Donald Pleasance.
Absolutely. It's not CGI though. It looks like it because the way it's being shot is with like a soft focus, and it looks like CGI. But it's actually physical makeup. They got like prosthetics to make someone look like Loomis, look like Donald Pleasance, and then they got his voice from a bit of an impression and probably
that's
some
what I
audio
think they're going to
somewhere.
do with Harold Ramis.
It's so fucking disrespectful and shitty. Like it's so shitty, and it's because they are trying to trick you into thinking Donald Pleasance is in this fucking film. He looks like him, he sounds like him. It's like Back to the Future 2. You know, it's just
upside down George McFly.
Yeah, I really didn't like it. I think it's really ethically wrong, and it really took me out of it. Like fucking Donald Pleasance Donald Pleasance should be credited in this, and he's not as well.
Oh, okay.
And they go out of their way to make this guy look like him and sound like him. They didn't need to. All they needed to do to tell their story was actually shoot the back of someone who's bald and looks like Donald Pleasance and have like the scene happen like around that. But they spend so much time to get the fucking iconography of the fucking Carpenter film on screen, and that means you got to have Donald Pleasance looking like Donald Pleasance. Like, it's really shitty, really crappy filmmaking. Like, it really got on my nerves. And I love the Halloween films. I think that's why it got on my nerves. Like, and this is so much more disrespectful than the zombie versions. Like Halloween 2 by Rob Zombie is a good film, and this is.
I didn't hate the Rob Zombie ones actually.
I like half of the first film. I actually would have loved the first zombie film to be entirely based as Michael as a kid. I think that would have been really fun to have the whole film to be leading up to him murdering his sister, and I loved that part of it. I didn't quite like it as much when it got to like the kind of basically remaking Halloween. But Halloween 2 is a fucking thing of its own. Rob Zombie did whatever he wanted to. He wasn't beholden to like some boring iconography from 30 years ago. And it's a really fun film that actually has something to say as well. Like, this is being like, I'm political, look at all my political things. And the Rob Zombie film's political in its own way, but it's not fucking wearing it like a big fucking thing on its sleeve. Like,
speaking of Zombie, did you see Zombie's picture of his new Munsters?
I did, yeah. It looks fucking weird.
And of
Who knows
course
what
he
the film's
cast his
gonna be.
wife.
Say it again.
Of course he cast his wife as...
Oh yeah, of course. I find it so funny that her surname's Zombie.
Sherry Moon Zombie.
Sherry Moon Zombie. I look forward to that. Whatever Rob Zombie does, it's a Rob Zombie film, you know? Like, it's very much...
Yeah,
he takes notes from other people.
I hope he's got a bit of money behind this, though, because his last couple of films, like, you know, the three from Hell and stuff like that, they've all felt very cheap. I mean, to be fair, like, his films probably should feel cheap because they're meant to be kind of...
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
But, like, I think the Munsters, you need a little bit of money behind it because you're going to get, like... compared to, like, I don't know,
you're going to draw comparisons. Like, yeah, sure. Yeah, I get you. I hope it's fun.
But yeah, I used to love the Munsters when I was a kid.
Me too. I used to watch it quite a bit.
Yeah.
I used to watch it much more than Addams Family, I have to say.
Have you watched anything else?
I've watched loads of stuff, but we have been recording for like 40 minutes.
I just thought I'll quickly mention just 2 things I watched. Okay. I finally watched Green Knight. Okay,
yeah, cool.
Which I thought was... I think if I watch it again, it will rise to great category. But at the moment, it's at the very, 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 very good category.
Sure.
But I just think because I wasn't quite prepared of what the film was going to be. But I think now I know what it is. I think if I watch it again, I'll really jive with it. And,
I think it plays better in the cinema. If I'm honest.
I wish I saw it in the cinema, to be honest. But I mean, it's just some of the it uses a lot of light. There's not a great deal of special effects in it, but like I think the lighting is fantastic, and it just shows what an effect lighting can be as well.
Yeah,
and
that's true. Yeah,
and
that's all it is.
There's some great shots as well. There's a lot of shots where the camera kind of goes around in a 360 arcing motion. I'm assuming that's to kind of reference like the round table and stuff like that. It's got a fox character companion, which I'm always down for that.
I love the fox a lot.
And for a CG character, it's pretty good, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
And I kind of like how it treats kind of like the mythological stuff in it. It's kind of, is it a bit hallucinogenic kind of thing, or is it really there? It's a bit kind of wishy-washy. But the actual Green Knight is great as well. The way he's like a practical, physical character.
Yeah,
character. He's not a CGI or anything like that, and he's.
I like how it's like a fable, and it knows it's a fable. Like, it's not trying to tell you like the story of the Green Knight, the real story. This is the real King Arthur bullshit. I like how it's a fable and it's telling itself as a fable. And I think that's really cool. And people should just do that more, telling medieval stuff, because that's what the stories are. No one ever told a story about medieval times and pretended it was real. You know, back then it was all they all know they were telling fables to each other.
But Dev Patel was great as well. Thought he was really good. And it's got the kid in it who. The Irish lad who's in Dunkirk and that. He's perfect for that kind of film. Like, you know what I mean? And I think he's actually in the Batman as well. I think
he's going to be everyone's favourite superhero this summer, isn't he? Playing Pingo.
What?
He's in Eternals, isn't he? What the fuck are the Eternals characters called? I think he's called Pingo. I'm going to call him Pingo. He's not Kingo. Kingo is my favourite. I can't even find it. Droog. Everyone likes Droog. Droog's everyone's favourite superhero. All the kids will be getting Droog t-shirts this summer. It's out in like a week. It's not November.
Are you looking forward to that, or?
No, I don't give a shit. I hope. I really don't. I don't know why. I've never cared less about a Marvel film, I have to say. But
what's his name? Barry Keoghan or Keoghan? Keoghan. He's in the Batman.
I don't know.
So we've got him to look forward to in that. I also watched a TV series called Midnight Mass.
I watched Midnight Mass as well.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
I thought it was actually really quite good, to be honest.
Yeah, I liked it.
I liked it more than his other two shows, I have to say.
Okay. I think I did too. I have issues with it, and because I have issues watching TV. That's my own issue with it. I can't believe it took like 2 hours to get into like the story.
It took 3 or 4 episodes to even find out what the thing, without spoiling it, the thing is.
Yeah, don't spoil it.
Main thing.
Yeah,
but
the only thing I'll say is that like it literally for the first 3 episodes, me and my housemate kept on going like, "Why are they in makeup?" And we're like, I don't know, why are they all in makeup? Is everyone in old people makeup? Why are all of them in old people makeup?
Well,
and that was literally the first like 4 episodes or something.
I think is it mainly the mother with dementia? I think it's mainly that one. I was like, there's something off about this character, and I kept looking at it. I was like,
she was the one most noticeable, but definitely the parents were as well, and like the priest.
What do you mean, Henry Thomas and that?
Yeah.
They definitely put a bit of aging makeup on, but I don't think they were playing too much older than what they are.
But it was really distracting, and obviously then it becomes a plot point. But it was very distracting to us. Like,
well, when you find out that the elderly mother with dementia is actually played by a 28-year-old actress, you're like, oh, okay.
Like, it was the hands. Like, she had crinkly face and her hands were just, like, young. Do
you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Edward Scissorhands when Winona Ryder plays the elderly version of herself telling the story. Of it,
yeah, it's the same.
And they talk to me like...
Good impression.
But no, I highly recommend it. I think you know, he's definitely like one of those anthology filmmakers where he kind of reuses the same cast a lot. And
Yes.
like
yeah.
I think even in Doctor Sleep, like some of these people were in that as well. When they're like Henry Thomas was in it as well, playing the Jack Nicholson. What is it? Jack Torrance? What's his name from The Shining? Yeah, he played that character, didn't he? But yeah, those were good. Effects were good in it as well. I mean, it's not overly, but definitely the destruction in the latter few episodes.
Yeah,
was quite impressive and stuff.
It's worth watching.
Although it does have a lot of scenes which, for me, it was too like monologue-y, and I kind of...
It was so Stephen King-y.
And I kind of switch off a little bit.
Stephen King of like TV, just like these monologues and these dialogue scenes going on for hours
about like life and death. You're like, oh my god.
I'm like, okay, the kind of okay.
You could probably...
I want to criticize it, but it's doing exactly what it wants to do, so who cares?
Yeah. I mean,
it's just like
if you edit those down, I reckon you could cut the episode tally down from 7 to 6, and I'm not even joking.
Easily. Yeah, easily. Just by like editing scenes to be shorter. There's a lot of scenes that go on and like even just like hang after like the end. The scene's ended and it's still there for a while.
But like,
there's a lot of that.
I normally hate like how TV shows wrap up and stuff, but I was actually felt quite satisfied with the ending of this one. I think.
Oh yeah, it works because it actually wraps itself up.
Yeah.
Like, and it actually wants to because endings are good. Things should have endings. Like, sounds like a radical hot take. Things should end, and this has an ending, and that's good.
I'll tell you what though, the most shocking thing for me was I didn't realise the sheriff was the kind of the guy from The Haunting of what was it, Blythe Manor. He was like the groundskeeper. He was like the house. I don't know. He did like all like
Oh yeah, he was. Yeah.
But I didn't.
He was.
He seemed so different. I thought he's pretty good though. Like
he's a good actor. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
I really liked him.
He can actually play different parts and all that.
Ooh.
No, I just thought he was very good.
Should I do my 2 films? I've watched them.
Go on then.
Which one should I do first? I watched No Time to Die, which is a film about this character who's like a British spy.
Oh yeah, I've never heard of it.
He kind of works for MI6. He's got like a weird boss. It's called M. I don't know what this bit is. It's good. It is good. I hated Spectre and I liked this. My problem with Bond is like I'm kind of done with it being an ongoing story. I hope next time they shy away from that a little more, because like I was watching this and they name characters from films from like 12 years ago. I have no fucking clue.
Yeah, like Casino Royale was 12 years ago, or even longer now, wasn't it? Yeah.
And there's I didn't remember. Sorry?
It's like 15 years, isn't it?
15 years ago, yeah. I didn't remember that Leah Sado. I didn't actually remember that she was in Spectre, like, which is quite embarrassing. But I really just ignored. Spectre just dropped from my face, from my head. I don't remember it at all. And there's this mystery. It's not a mystery. It was a mystery to me. I thought the film had a mystery about who her dad was, and her dad's like in like Casino Royale or something. I don't know.
Oh, is he?
Or Quantum of Solace, might be Quantum of Solace, I don't know. But he's in it, like, as a character. And I thought that this film was suggesting that her dad was Blofeld. I was watching, like, the whole film going, her dad's going to be Blofeld. And then no. And it's completely just because I don't remember as much as the lore they've decided for their films, I just don't remember it because the release of these films are far apart from each other.
I was just going to say, is that must be one of the biggest issues, because like normally you think, okay, 2 or 3 years between films, but it's normally like what, 4 or 5 years between films, or even
easily.
longer, and you're like, wow.
And like, I don't really rewatch them.
6 years.
I watched them at the cinema and that's it. I've only seen Spectre once, so
yeah, Spectre was boring.
It's crap.
If I remember as well, Quantum of Solace is like probably half the length of what No Time to Die is. It was like
because it was just a DLC for Casino Royale.
And if I remember though, I think
film.
I think that was filmed during the writer's strike, so they could literally only film what they had written, so they couldn't add anything extra to it, I think.
I don't remember a second of that film. I remember it was Spectre. They kept on referring to characters in Quantum of Solace, and I just was like, I can't believe that you expect me to remember this. Like, I cannot believe you expect me to remember this stuff. But
all I remember is
I
a
really
character
enjoyed
called
it.
Strawberry Fields.
I really recommend it. I really enjoyed it. I think Rami Malek is awful.
Oh, really?
He's not good. He drains all just, I don't know, he drains scenes. It's like he's a void. I just don't like it at all. And I feel like everything he plays has the same quirks, which I guess is just Rami Malek.
Do you think he's bought into his own hype a little bit?
Maybe, yeah. It's not. I don't hate the guy. He's not good in this film. He's the worst part about it by far. And one thing I couldn't. This will be spoilers. I don't really want to spoil it for anyone. The interrelationship between the different characters, I think, is confusing to the point that I couldn't stop thinking about it. Basically, particularly when it comes to age differences. Rami Malek and Leah Sado have this very complicated backstory that involves her as a child, but it's played by Rami Malek as an adult, and it's like,
what?
But how? And I couldn't stop thinking about it, because you see her character as a child in this, her being like 20 years younger than Daniel Craig.
This is what I was going to say.
Kind of exasperates that a little bit more.
Well, he's in his late 50s now, maybe.
Yeah, mid-50s probably.
And so she's in her mid-30s. That's quite an age
she's
gap.
35. Yeah, she's our age. So. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a bit,
it just exasperated it for me, basically, and I just think that was a weird choice to make. And I have the same issues I always have with Bond. They start talking about the fact that MI6 is not like a good thing. And then they just drop it at some point, and it's all British imperialism and yay, and and I'll have to call the Prime Minister and stuff. And I think when you're watching it in the 60s, and I have to call the Prime Minister sounds really important. And then you're watching it now, it's like, we'll have to call the Prime Minister, and you're like, what, Boris? I can't I know who the fucking Prime Minister is. I've got no respect for that character.
Do you think Boris is the Prime Minister within the world of Bond?
Well, they don't mention any other name, so I have to presume that it is. He saved Boris. Queen Elizabeth is canonically the
Oh yeah, in the Olympics.
Queen,
yeah, they parachuted down into the Olympic Stadium together, didn't they?
And the ending of is it View to a Kill, or For Your Eyes Only, is Margaret Thatcher's in it, isn't she?
Is she?
With her husband. She's cooking dinner at the end, and she gets a phone call from Bond.
No.
No. And it's just I know the Bond movies are propaganda, propaganda. I know they are that for the British imperialism and the British government. I know they are. And it still bothers me. It gets on my nerves a little bit, and I know that's probably me being a bit too sensitive. I think if Americans watch it, they won't give a shit, but I live here and I see the shit our government does, and it's sometimes then sitting down to watch a film which was written by the institution, an Eton graduate, and a landed gent, and it's directed by this huge family of landowners and I don't know, millionaires.
Aren't they an American family though?
I don't know.
The Broccolis.
The Broccoli's.
Broccolis.
The Broccoli's.
Yeah.
I don't know.
American, but
are they? God,
I
don't
so.
know. I thought they were British.
Let's have a look.
But it's such I don't know, it bothers me. I can't quite drop it from my head when I watch Bond, basically, is how much they're just kind of defending the idea of Britain, foreign kind of interference and stuff. And it's not the same when I watch Mission Impossible, because IMF aren't real, but he literally works for MI6, and they keep showing me the MI6 building in London. It's very tied into trying to be reality, and I think I don't know, it takes me out of the film. I've gone on a bit of a weird rant here about Bond.
What was your
My second film.
Well, hang on. Just before we get on, it says that Barbara Broccoli is British and American, but I think she was born in America, so I assume they're an American family. Her father,
Chubby
her father
Broccoli
was born in
must
New
have been
York,
English.
so no. So yeah, they're an American family.
Chubby Broccoli.
Chubby.
The other film I watched was Pig.
You told me this.
It's so good, and I don't want to even say too much about it, but it's one of the best films of the year. If not,
wow.
It's fucking up there. It's so good, and it's so not what I thought that film was going to be. In any stretch of the imagination, I didn't understand what this film was going to be.
Well, I think a lot of people are saying that it's basically John Wick, but with a pig, but I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, sure, it's that, but it's not. It's not anything like that. It's that, and it's not. Like it's a revenge picture, but it's completely does something different with that genre, in a way that I've never seen anyone do that before. And it broke me. It touched me absolutely to my core. A lot of that is Nicolas. A lot of this works because Nicolas Cage is wonderful. Just like he's one of the best performances he's done. He has a few monologues in this film that work because he's invested in it, and that's what makes the film work. Because it's asking you to really go with the plot at some points, you know. And if you didn't have someone like Nick Cage in the center of that, like centering that film, I think you'd have trouble going for it. And yeah, it really, really works. I was absolutely shocked by it and absolutely blown away by it. I couldn't recommend it more.
I've got images of the film now though that Nick Cage is the one that's kidnapped, and it's the pig that's going to save him.
And the pig is very cute, and it's got a little snuffly nose and a little beard, and that's very important.
Yeah, but what you don't know is though he's skilled in gun Carter and all that kind of shit though.
It's so good. I know people kept on telling me it's so good, and I was like, yeah, I'll get around to it. And when I did, I was just like, wow, that is so good. Can't say much more. I don't want to spoil anything about it because I knew nothing about this film apart from it was about Nick Cage's pig. Like that's all I really knew. And the John Wick kind of.
Is it like
comparison.
a truffle pig or anything like that, or is it?
Yeah, it's his truffle pig. Yeah, he's a truffle hunter. It's wonderful. I think you will love it as well because you are a fellow Nick Cage fan. So.
Well, yeah, we're not one of those people who laugh at Nick Cage. Like we're pro Nick Cage. We're a pro Nick Cage podcast. I think even when we first touted with ideas to do podcast, I was like, oh, we should do a podcast and call it Cage Match in every episode. And you just ignored me, so I thought, oh well, that's gone by the wayside. But someone's done it since.
Yeah. And there's a good book as well.
Is there?
It's come out about Nick Cage. Yeah, it's about all his stuff. Because of that book, I actually watched one of his straight to streaming, straight to DVD films. And I had such a good time with it. I thought it was really fun. And
Which one was
I've never heard anyone.
Oh, do you mean
talk
this
about
one?
The Trust.
Oh, The Trust.
Yeah, so it's him and Elijah Wood.
Oh, it was a couple of years ago, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, a few years ago, about 2016 or something like that. It's a great heist movie, and Nick Cage is wonderful in it, and it's got loads of twists and turns that I loved, and I had such a fun time with it. I can't imagine people watching that and being negative towards it. It really properly mid-range, thriller that I wish people were doing more of, frankly.
If you watch a Nick Cage straight to DVD film, you're gonna get a lot more out of it than say a straight to DVD Bruce Willis movie or something.
Oh, yeah.
He's actually gonna put effort and care into it, because probably these straight to DVD movies that Nick Cage do are probably they're more indie films, probably. I assume.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Not all of them. There's some bad ones, but I don't know.
Just...
I think the only thing I've ever heard about Nick Cage is that he's committed when he takes a role and he prepares for it.
Yeah.
He knows the character. He knows what he's trying to do. He knows how much he's doing, and he knows the script. And it's not like Bruce Willis, who helicopters in and on a close up says all his lines and then helicopters out again.
I kind of picture he's still got the wire attached to him. They just frame it out of shot, and then as soon as he said his line, he's winched away.
He's winched up to the helicopter and flies up again. That's not Nick Cage you're getting. When you get Nick Cage, you're getting him on your film. And I think that's so important for these like budding directors and people are making cheaper movies and trying to make stuff like I think that's wonderful that we have someone like Nick Cage who would do that. Well, we can joke all about his financial issues or whatever, but I don't think it's relevant.
Well, that's got nothing to do with his acting, has it?
No,
but
I don't think it does at all.
Like, I can imagine if you're on set with Nick Cage and another actor, when it comes to your close-ups, I can imagine he's there still feeding the lines, I assume. Yeah. Because that still adds to the point. You've got to react to his performance, whereas imagine, like... Sorry, Bruce, we're going to go back to you. But
Bruce
when it's your close-up, I'm sorry, you're not getting Bruce Willis to feed you the dialogue.
No, no chance.
You're not going to get that same kind of level of performance where each person's like lifting each other up and helping each other. You're not going to get that unless you're Wes Anderson or Rian Johnson directing Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
All right,
like one of the few people he'll give any kind of shit for.
I do think with Bruce Willis, you've just got to prove your worth to him, and once you've proven that, then he's probably on your side. I
think that's probably the case maybe 5 years ago, but I don't think he tries in anything.
I've just done a title sequence for a Bruce Willis film, so I'm interested to actually see if it's any good.
Well, guys, why are we sitting here shitting on Bruce Willis if you've just done work for him?
I haven't worked for Bruce Willis.
Kinda.
Not really.
Look, we've been recording for like 4 hours.
That's fine. All right, then. What are we talking about today, then, Liam?
Like, because it's as I introduced about 3 hours ago. It's
you. I thought that was someone else.
Say it again.
That was the Crypt Keeper, wasn't it? That wasn't.
Oh yeah, as our special guest introduced 3 hours ago, Mr. Crypt, Mr. Seakeeper. It's our Halloween special because it's October, and that's the month where the ghouls and goblins come out and make movies that are scary and something. Anyway, we're doing 80s films. We're doing a nice 80s exploitation horror film called Brain Damage.
It's funny. One night you go to bed, and when you wake up, everything is different. Now Brian's acting a little peculiar.
He's like a completely different person. I don't even know him anymore.
Something's gotten into him.
Sometimes everything glows with a different kind of light.
Deep into him.
What are you telling me? That we killed someone last night?
Something bad.
Tacky, Brian, tacky.
Something slimy.
What are you doing?
Something very...
I know something's happened to you.
Very...
How is that?
hungry.
You can't keep killing people every time you're hungry.
You're mine now, Brian. I own you.
Gotta get out of here fast. Go where?
You're a wreck, Brian.
Leave me alone!
Whenever you want to stop hurting, you come to me.
Brain damage. It will turn you inside out.
Can you do an impression of Aylmer?
Oh, I was trying to think of who he sounds like. He sounds almost a bit like. Is it John Austin? You know, the one who he plays Gomez in the original Addams Family TV series. He's just kind of got one of those classical horror kind of voices.
I think he sounds like the guy in Monster Mash.
Yeah. He's just got that typical, like 50s horror kind of ghoulish voice.
Which is because that's who he was, wasn't it? Frank, was that his name?
Have we started?
Yeah, apparently. Apparently so. I forgot. I'm just talking. John Zacherle? Is that his name?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, he wasn't credited on the film because it was like, you know, obviously he was in a guild or whatever, you know, like the what's the Film Actors Guild or the Voice Actors Guild or whatever. And basically they couldn't even announce for like many a year that he was even in the film.
Really?
Yeah, otherwise they would have got fined and he would have got fined. So.
Oh, no way.
So his name was kept out of it for ages. But apparently he loved doing it though.
I can imagine, because he was like you were talking about earlier about kind of like Vampira and Elvira and stuff like that.
Yeah,
he
yeah.
was that kind of person, wasn't he, on TV? He would have his own like spooky horror TV show where he popped up to introduce the spooky film of the week or something.
I mean, if you look at a picture for him, you'll have seen his image before. He almost looks a bit like, who's that zombie in Day of the Dead? Is it Bub or whatever? He looks kind of almost like that, kind of
Bob.
like a proper.
Isn't it
Is
Bob?
it Bob?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does kind of, yeah.
Just
he does.
that typical dark, sunken eyes, kind of.
Yeah. And he's kind of made up to be a bit like it is like a zombie or something, isn't it? Like a corpse or something. It's hard to tell. It's just generally spooky.
So yeah, the guy that we're talking about, this actor, he's called, what is it, John Zaki? We're terrible.
I think it's Zach Early.
Zach Early.
I should look that up.
John Zach
My
Early.
bad.
And he is the voice of a animatronic character in Brain Dead called Aylmer. Aylmer.
Yeah, so to reset, today's film we're doing is Brain Dead, which came out in 1988, I think, and it was directed by Frank Henenlotter. This I'm
right.
just winning today, aren't I, with names? This film has like genre of like exploitation kind of horror films basically that was coming out in this time period, and Frank Henenlotter is like a king of like exploitation horror basically. So this was his second film after he made first film Basket Case, which I'm sure we'll talk about for a bit. But the story of Brain Damage is God, it's not difficult. It's basically a guy.
This parasite finds this guy and basically uses him as like a vessel. Well, not a vessel as such, but a way to kind of live off, attack humans to eat their brains. And by doing so, he has like created like an implant or like a hole in the base of this guy's neck that he kind of induces a drug. And it becomes this kind of like... it's almost a bit like Faust, isn't it? Like this kind of deal with the devil where like, you do this for me and I'll do this for you kind of scenario.
Yeah, it's a fun playoff. So like, so do you have this normal average guy who lives in New York in the same apartment building as him is this older couple that keep this slug brain creature in like the bathtub.
No, slug, it full on looks like a dick. It looks like a dildo.
Well, yeah. It's meant to be.
It's even got veins and stuff like that.
But it's got a big pulsating external brain. That's a big like character of it.
Little doll eyes.
Wonderful, wonderful beaming little eyes, which I think Aylmer is one of the cutest characters ever to exist. It's so good. I was so obsessed with him in this film. I was like, I want more. And yes, it's really simple. One, this guy's sick. He's laying in bed. This slug creature finds him, connects to him, and in order to kind of eat other people's brains, he keeps feeding this guy Brian, I think his name is.
Brian.
Keeps feeding him more drugs, and it ruins his life basically. And that's it. And we're done.
That's the end of the episode. See you later.
That's the end of the episode. It's I don't know.
I really enjoyed this film. I really liked it.
I absolutely loved every second of this film.
It's so much fun. Like it was 85 minutes or 86 minutes.
Yes.
Apparently the original cut of the film was 65 minutes. So they actually had to make it longer, which is like most films, the first cuts are usually like several hours long.
Yeah.
This they actually had to
added.
find more footage just to lengthen it out a bit, to pad it out. But apparently it was very heavily cut in America. Like there's some scenes in it which are quite full on, which we'll get to later on. But the NBA chopped down, and apparently the company that distributed it as well, like they cut more out of it, so it got really heavily cut. In the Europe, though, apparently it was remained uncut, apparently. And I think it was one of the first instances where they actually filmed stuff specifically just for the video release, because videos aren't, especially in America anyway, they're not rated. They're not under the same rating things. So you can actually have more horrible shit in a video than you would in a feature film. So there was stuff just shot specifically for that.
And I mean, that's this guy's case. Like, this guy makes exploitation films. He loves making exploitation films. He's really, like, big on that. He loves talking about how, like, exploitation is the real Hollywood and it's the real way to make films because there's no barriers and whatever. Like, he's a big, like, proponent of that kind of industry. And he made his name on Basket Case, which is one of those just iconic kind of video nasties. It's one of those, like, that will always be on the shelves, you know, posters of and horror conventions and stuff like that. It's one of those huge video nasties, which, if you haven't seen Basket Case, it's basically this guy has one of those twin, like, that does, like, conjoined twins, and he keeps him in a wicker basket that he carries around with him at all times. And this, like, a little conjoined twin likes to eat people. So I think that's pretty much it.
Do you remember the X-File episode that was a bit like that as well? Where,
Where
it's
a
guy,
classic.
whatever. Yeah, he's got that kind of, like, the Fiji mermaid that's kind of attached.
That's
like
it.
his
Yeah,
twin that can somehow detach itself, and it's trying to find a new. Like, he basically hates his brother, so he's trying to find a new, like, sibling to attach himself on.
New sibling to attach him to,
killing people. But yeah, the director, he also did, like, Frankenhooker.
Yes.
He did, like, several other Basket Case films, and he did another one called Bad Biology, where it's these two sexually unfulfilled people are drawn to each other because they've got mutated genitalia. So it just kind of sums up what kind of filmmaker he is. But I don't think he's a bad filmmaker by any stretch. Like, he's actually good at what he does.
Oh, absolutely. I thought this film was wonderfully made. Like, it was really cheap. It was, and some of the acting really took some kind of.
Yeah, I think the girlfriend and the brother are particularly very bad.
Oh, I think the worst one for me was the neighbour. Who is it? Theo Barnes? Is it Morris the neighbour? Yeah,
the old guy.
Yeah, the old guy. He had so much exposition to deliver at all points, and at some point I was like, "You can't handle this." I'm sorry. You could tell that, like, there were some cuts just to let him like stop talking.
What about the guy in the shower who's, like, just lathering himself up? The whole time. That
scene is amazing. I love everything about that scene. And, like, but the standout in this, it doesn't matter. All that doesn't matter. The standout in this is that the main character is Aylmer, who is a slug penis character, and he has a tiny little face, and he has a tiny little brain, and everyone should own an Aylmer toy. I don't know why that isn't. I don't know why that isn't the biggest selling horror toy of all time. I can't believe how cute he looks, and it's definitely they did it on purpose. Like, going
back to Akira, and we were saying we want, like, mutated baby plushies. Aylmer plushie, come on. You know, it has to have a mouth that can open, though, or something like that.
Yeah. That mouth opens up, and all those, it has, like, millions of little teeth, and then the little proboscis comes out to, like, it spray you with his hallucinogenic drugs and stuff like that. I just loved it, and the animation on him is so good, and I mean, you'll be able to talk to it better than I will, but, like, mainly puppetry, I think, really, for most of it.
Well, yeah, they built several, so there was, like, there's big ones that were made for, like, his mouth opening up and stuff like that. Then there was smaller ones that are kind of, like, just animatronics, so he moves back and forth. There's one where actually the mouth movement's quite good, and, like, it's kind of this little mouth opening up and down. There's others which are actually stop motion.
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely some scenes with stop motion. Yeah,
they're a bit more obvious. Probably not that great, but I still like it. Still, like, a nice little fun touch to it, because, you know, you don't see those in films anymore. And
no, I just found it I don't know. I just found it delightful.
I just like
every time they cut to him, because it was this physical thing in the movie. I just found it delightful. I just loved it, you know, like, because it was there.
I like it when filmmakers they've probably got aspirations to make a film that's bigger or should be more expensive, but they do their best to do everything that's on the page to please the director or whatever.
Yeah.
And while it doesn't necessarily all come off great, but it's definitely got. You can tell people had a lot of fun making this film, and they wanted to do their best. So, with what means they had, they made the best film they could possibly make. I mean, there's some like at the beginning when Brian's kind of like he's first being like drugged, which you don't know what's drugging him at this point. I think.
No, not really.
His room starts flooding with this like blue liquid.
Blue liquid, yeah.
And there's like one match shot where you see the water rising beside him.
Yeah.
But you can just tell it's like badly like cut out, and it's like they haven't actually flooded the room. It's just like a weird like overlaid effects and stuff like that. But you kind of just go with it. But
yeah. I thought it looked good.
that shot didn't. No, when the water's actually pouring in the room, it's fine. But it's when it's like a wide shot of him in the bed and you see the waters to the side of him, it looks a bit naff. But like, but you see like basically this. I mean, the whole film is kind of basically don't do drugs, kids. It's bad because like, you see what this elderly couple are like. They're basically. Instead of like, because obviously Aylmer wants human brains, but what they've been doing is feeding him animal brains and then using him to kind of get high, basically. Yeah. And then he obviously just disappears one day. I don't know how he gets out or what happened, but they keep him in the bathtub, and you see them with going through withdrawals. Well, they're looking. It's almost like finders keepers because they're looking for him in the house.
Oh, that scene when they're looking for in the house is so fucking funny to me. Like that was that was one of the things I'm like, these guys aren't good actors because they weren't looking for anything. They were just basically throwing furniture around the house.
That's what it's like finders keepers. They were just looking for the clue to go to the next room.
Guys, you're meant to be searching for something, like, not just like throwing chairs around.
But I like that overhead shot though, where they're like frothing at the mouth and they've just got an Alka-Seltzer in their mouth. And
I would defend its anti-drug thing a little bit. I think compared to most stuff made in the 80s, when 80s is that big era of like war on drugs starting and like Just Say No and all those kind of really rubbish campaigns on drugs and really demonizing it in the press. I think this does two things which I kind of liked. Not to overly praise the film. It's not like it's like an incredible kind of like thesis on like drug abuse, but like it does two things that one is like that Just Say No is stupid. Like it clearly makes it that Brian can't just stop himself. Like, and I did like that about it. It does very much say that like an addiction is an addiction, and I did think that was quite good. And the second one is that like it does show like the kind of impact of drugs in a way that's not just the physical withdrawal stuff. Like I think in the way that he becomes alienated from his like girlfriend and his brother, maybe flatmate,
it's his brother,
is actually quite good, to the point of when like, you know, later in the film when his girlfriend sleeps with his brother, he barely can react to it because his life is not about that anymore. It's about like getting high. And I did think that was quite good. Again, not to overly praise it, but that's good. Like,
from what basically the first time he gets high and he's like walking the streets and he's like walks past the junkyard, and he's
it's a bit like Spider-Man 3.
yeah. But he's like attracted by the bright lights that he sees like shining off these cars and stuff. Like that's the first time he's ever tried the drug. It's like, you know, you first try coke or whatever. It's like probably the best time you'll ever try it. And then every time you're trying to, after that is like you're trying to recapture that first.
Trying to top up.
But you can't. Do you know what I mean? And so yeah, that's basically the first. Does that has it? So yeah, at that point, like, so Brian's kind of woken up and he's found Aylmer on him. Is that right? Or he hears him talking, doesn't he?
It's he first finds a ton of blood.
That's it.
Like, he wakes up and there's loads of blood all over his pillow and on the back of his neck, and he's hearing a voice. And I think, is Aylmer meant to be in him at that point or something?
No, I don't think he might. Like when I first found out about this film, when we decided, because James, our friend, he suggested because he wants to watch it, but sadly James, well, not sadly. I mean, it's a good thing he went to hospital and he's He won't mind me talking about it, but he basically got a new kidney the other day, and he's doing really well now. So good on you, James. Thanks for introducing us to this film. I hope you enjoy it when you watch it. I don't. This may sound really bad, but I don't mean it to sound bad at all. But this 100% feels like a film that James would have made himself.
Okay.
This feels like a James Rayner Untamed Aggression production. Like down from the humour, the lighting, even the music, the kind of like the synthy kind of stuff, which I really did quite like, and it kind of reminded me a bit of the of like Reanimator and stuff like that. Actually, if you listen to Reanimator, the music in that is pretty much Psycho. It's such a blatant rip-off. But anyway.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I watched Reanimator the other week, and it is. And I kept on being like, how did they get away with just doing Psycho?
I don't know. Yeah, James, if they ever do remake it, try and get on it, because I think you do a good job at remaking Brain Damage.
Son of Aylmer. That's what we can do.
Son of Aylmer. I like it.
Wish James was here to talk with us, but like, yeah, this.
But when I saw the poster, I assumed it was this thing that, like, a bit like Venom, like this thing kind of comes out the back of his neck or something, and then goes back inside.
Well, I was going to say this is the best Venom film I've seen.
Yeah, but I think what it does, I think it just suctions onto his back or whatever.
Yeah, it's something like that, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think
he's basically made. He's attached him because there's that hole in the back of his neck. That's the way he gets the drugs, and he's somehow kind of burrowed his way in, or made that kind of little hole at that point, and he just wakes up covered in blood, and then he wakes up, he kind of starts having like epileptic like flashes, and he gets really weak and he falls back asleep, and then when he wakes up again, all the blood is dried, and his torso starts like morphing and moving and stuff, and then a tentacle appears like at the base of his neck, really. And then a tiny little weird exposed brain then goes, hi.
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 It's the most perfect voice you want from this.
So good. If you'd asked me, like, if you told me to do like 20 guesses of what his voice is going to sound like, I probably wouldn't have got there. I would have thought about so many other things.
But I think that's the thing. He's meant to disarm you because he's meant to seem really nice and like a guy you'd want to hang out with. But then you kind of like later on, like there's a scene when you really find out.
Like there's drug dealers. They think they're nice and cool, Ollie, and then they turn out to be using you to eat brains.
But when they go to the hotel and stuff, you realise what a shit he is.
That fucking scene in the hotel when he's dancing to his own little song. It's the fucking best scene in ever. You need to put some Aylmer song in here now, because I can't remember what it sounds like. But...
Why are the stars always winking and blinking above? What makes a fella start thinking of falling in love? It's not the season. The reason is plain as the moon. It's just Aylmer's tune. What makes a lady of 80 go out on the loose? Why does a gander meander in search of a goose? What puts the kick in a chicken, the magic in June? It's just Aylmer's tune.
But in that earlier sequence when he's kind of like first like reacting to the drugs, and that, there's a great scene where he's like looking up at the ceiling and he's like looking at the light, and it's kind of turning into an eyeball and things like that, and then the liquid starts pouring out, the blue juice and stuff like that.
Yeah, because it keeps cutting to this blue juice pouring into like this brain. I like that shot.
And like
and basically goes like
hand-drawn electrical sparks on the brain and stuff like that. Like,
yeah. And he goes, if you I can't do his voice. I really want to do it. If you feed me, then you'll have a life free from worry, and all will be good in your world. And Brian's like, that sounds good. I like an idea of a life free from worry. So he lets him do his little puppet spray of injection into his head.
Because I mean, you don't really know much about Brian at all, really. Though I mean, you just know he's got a brother and a girlfriend, and he's got like a Slayer.
And then he had the flu or something.
Yeah,
like his 3 character points.
Yeah. Like, I don't think you ever see him with his girlfriend.
No.
Prior to you only find, because she comes around going, oh, we're going to go to the concert. And he's like, oh, I don't feel well. Go with my brother. And
I've
then
got a
you
cargo
kind of
in my
then
brother,
kind of
yeah.
find out, you kind of sense that the brother likes his girlfriend.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And did you
But it
notice
also
that
like Brian's clearly like pushing her away all the time anyway.
Yeah.
As well, so.
But Brian's also got like a cut on his lip, like a scar, and I was thinking that was an odd choice to cast a person who's got like a chip, got chapped lips or whatever. But apparently, the director purposely wanted like him to have a little scar to make him look vulnerable.
Huh.
But also when I was trying to research it, there was another thing they were saying that there was a deleted scene that I'm not sure if they even filmed it or if they filmed it and they cut it, and it was basically a fight scene happened between Brian's brother and another character, and Brian steps in to kind of stop the fight and gets punched and splits his lip. But then when I was watching the making of, they don't mention that in the slightest, and they just talk about him being vulnerable because he's got this kind of split lip. So I was like, don't know.
Oh, weird. You know what? I caught that kind of split lip. I didn't really think about it at all. I honestly just saw it as like, I don't know, that's what people look like now and again, I guess.
Yeah, I guess
if
so.
that makes any sense. Like, just made him seem more normal, I guess, to me. There is that, because the first kill, he goes to the junkyard and the security guard approaches him.
Yeah.
And you know something bad's going down, but you don't quite know what's going to happen. And Brian is just wigging out on like the lights of the junkyard and just loving life.
I mean, it just looks like Predator vision, doesn't it? Like everything's like glowing green and red and stuff like that. Like heat vision almost, isn't it?
Aylmer just like detaches from Brian and just jumps at the security guard and starts burrowing into his fucking head. Like, it's so good. It's so funny. And like the security guard just screaming and this little like wormy thing just going like wriggling all about in his skull, like eating away at his brain. Oh, brilliant. I can't praise this film enough. And then I just love the brain eating of the puppet parasite. And then as soon as he's finished, Brian goes, "Is he okay?"
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Oh, he's not bad. He's not bad. He's a bit underdone." And the film is full of these like little one-liners, which I think are so fucking funny.
There's a
The
great
one later on
when he
go on, yeah.
When the girl in the rock club she
yeah.
basically gives Aylmer a blowjob, like he's like giving oral to this like weird puppet thing, and like he gives a line like later on going, what does he say? Oh god.
There's two. There's one that goes, "I sucked her brains out through her mouth," and Brian goes, "Is she dead?" Which really made me laugh. And the other one is like, "Look, if there's blood in my pants, I want to know how it got there."
But,
brilliant.
I love the scene though where he's basically just having fun with Aylmer in the bath. I think this is after the first kill. Just like he somehow installed loads of locks on all the doors, like multiple locks. And he's like got like buckets in his bedroom so he can like have fun times without Aylmer in his bedroom. But his brother walks in on them in the bathtub, which is very bizarre.
There's because he's basically his brother and his girlfriend are moaning that he doesn't do anything else nowadays but lay in the bath, and he doesn't even go to work, and they try to she tries to get him to leave the bath and come out with her. And Aylmer gives him a bit of drugs, and then he just goes mad. He starts like screaming to himself in the bath. It's so fucking freaky.
But I guess like after this is when he goes on a date with his girlfriend.
Yes, yeah, and
I have to say though that restaurant looks quite contemporary nowadays. If you look at it, like if you look at a lot of restaurants in 80s films, they look very 80s. I thought this one looked quite modern with all the one bare wall that's got all spray paint and stuff. It looked like something out of like the Patty Men, which we've got in Birmingham and stuff. I thought it was quite cool. But like he's so disinterested during this whole kind of meal because obviously he just doesn't give a shit what she's saying, really.
No, she doesn't. He's not listening to her at all. And then when he's ordered like spaghetti and meatballs, and when it arrives, like half the meatballs are these pulsating little brains.
Well, they keep in one by one. They keep turning into these pulsating brains and stuff.
Yeah,
it's great.
Because he's like Aylmer is basically moaning that he needs more feed and more food, and because he's just been playing in the bath with him instead of feeding. So he wanders into town and he finds like a homeless guy, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And that's when he kind of Yeah, he finds a homeless guy for Aylmer to eat. That's it. Yeah, he like literally kind of finds him to eat as well. And just after that, and that's when he ends up into the nightclub. And people are finding him like quite enigmatically funny because he's all dressed up in a suit, but he's hanging out by the amps and just kind of like dry humping the amps.
But it's clear that he likes rock music though, because his bedroom is plastered with like Slayer posters and stuff like that. But like I found that I was trying to find out the name of the band that's playing.
Oh yeah,
and they're called the Swimming Pool Cues, and they're like a New York band.
Swimming Pool Cues.
Yeah,
that's a weird name.
And like I don't know about you, but whenever a band's playing, most people face the stage.
Okay.
But in this film, they're just like, it's like a nightclub. They're just dancing in any direction and stuff like that. And like all the people in that scene are all the crew. And
I can imagine.
They all shave their heads and stuff like that. And all the crew are pretty made up of filmmakers who worked on 3 key kind of New York splatter kind of movies. So one is Basket Case.
Okay.
The other is one called Slime City, which I haven't seen that I really do want to see. I've been trying to get hold of a copy of it.
I've not heard of that. What's that about?
I don't know. I just know it's called Slime City and I want to watch it.
Because it's called Slime City. That's fair.
And then the other one is Street Trash, which I have seen several times.
What's that one?
So that one's where a bunch of homeless people get addicted to this kind of cheap alcohol this place is trying to get rid of and sell them. But it kind of eventually makes them melt away, pretty much. It's like one of those melt movies, a bit like The Blob or The Stuff.
Body melt.
But it's and I think I might be wrong, but there's a lot of the film takes place in a like a salvage wreckage yard, and I think it might be the same one that's in this film earlier on. I could be wrong.
Okay.
But in Street Trash, there's like some homeless people who live in the salvage yard, but there's like the king there, and he's got a throne and everything, and he's kind of got like 2 naked women that sit by him. It's very bizarre, and the people who work there just kind of leave him to his own devices. Like, yeah, let's not mess with him because he's a bit nuts. It's very odd.
That's so Street Trash is directed by J. Michael Muro.
Yeah,
who's the cinematographer for like Open Range and like he did like Rush Hour 3 and stuff like that.
And like apparently the original editor they wanted for Brain Damage, I've forgotten what his name is now, but he it turns out like the film production company was like, no, you can't hire him because he's not experienced enough, we want someone else. The next film that he edited was Goodfellas.
Fuck.
Where are we? So
he's
in the
nightclub.
Punk,
the punk club basically. I think I really thought at this point he was like channeling Jeffrey Combs, who is my like I wish Jeffrey Combs was playing the lead character, basically, because Jeffrey Combs isn't a fucking icon.
Well, I've recently, this week, I've watched Reanimator and
Good.
From Beyond. Is it
From Beyond? Yeah.
And like for me, both of those are like a double header. Like you kind of got to watch one or the other because like there's one thing. The weird thing about Jeffrey Combs is like he's not a bad actor at all, but he's a very hammy actor.
Yeah.
Like
absolutely, in the best way.
Every bit of the scenery and just chews it up. And but he's so entertaining to watch.
He'll give you everything you need in that scene, and he knows the flavour of these films. You know, he knows the level to be at and stuff.
Like even in The Frighteners, he's great, and he's kind of that
he's
weird
so
like detective that's kind of. He's got all the scars of like all the cults that he's joined to kind of infiltrate, and he's gonna sit on the little rubber ring and. And even in Star Trek, he's great.
He's wonderful in Star Trek. Lovely guys. I've met him as well. He's very lovely.
Have you? Oh, I'm jealous.
But I watched like because I was doing those F movies in the summer, so I watched Fear.com, and like I put on Fear.com, and within the first 5 minutes they introduce you to the detective's partner, who is played by Jeffrey Combs, and I'm like, okay, okay, this has got some energy. This has got some buzz. I'm up for this now. I can watch Jeffrey Combs in a shitty horror film. That will make me happy. He's literally has about 3 fucking minutes of screen time.
What?
And I'm like, you're making like a shitty fucking horror film. You get Jeffrey Combs and you don't fucking bank on that. What is wrong with you? Like, he'll make your film better because he'll give you a fucking performance. Like,
Yeah.
don't get it. I don't get when people do stuff like that. Like, and he's an icon of these like horror films in the 80s and stuff. He's so good.
He's like a Bruce Campbell, isn't he? You know, he's that level.
Yeah.
But like kind of like Reanimated, like and From Beyond, like the lighting in those like is so strong and vibrant. Like in this film, in Brain Damage, there's so many like I think blue is like a big color that's used a lot in this film. Like obviously to kind of reference the kind of the hallucinogenic drug that the little black dildo thing kind of puts in his brain. But yeah, so this nightclub he meets like a young lady actually finds him interesting.
Yeah, because he's got like an energy to him, and he's weird, and he's like and a bit like odd. So he's a bit enigmatic, and I think people would be attracted to him in the clubs. I think that's like, you know, that's another druggy thing, isn't it? Because she comes up to him and goes, "You're fucked up, aren't you?" And he's just like, like, and she's like, "Yeah, okay, this guy can party." Like, I kind of liked it. It's kind of like it felt a bit real, and not so much like it wasn't banking on him being like really attractive or something like that. It's just like this kind of drug gives him a weird energy that people are kind of attracted to, and I think it's, you know, it's like the only way I can think about it is, you know, Fun Bobby in Friends. Yeah. So like when he's fucked up, everyone's like, this guy's quite fun. Yeah. And when he's sober, he's got nothing to him. That's what I kind of was thinking about with this. Like when he's all high on Aylmer's like drugs, he's like quite a fun and weird guy to be with. But when he's actually quite straight and at the beginning and normal, he's just got nothing to him.
Anyway, she takes him to the rooftops and proceeds to give him oral sex, but a penis doesn't pop
hang on,
out.
there's a slug in the way.
But I could, you know, obviously the film's telegraphing where it's going to go, but you don't expect to see it quite like you do.
That's the scene that got cut in America, and I don't think it's as bad as all that, if that makes sense.
Well, apparently, like a lot of the crew, like just walked off set that time, but the actors were like, "Oh, we don't care." But, like,
it's very tongue-in-cheek to me. It's very funny. Like the film's been really funny up to this point as well. Like I think you have to put that in context of it. Yeah.
And like a lot of the things it sets up, it kind of like any kills or whatever, like I don't know, like a line of dialogue will stop it or something like that, so it doesn't get to the really bad point. I don't know. But apart from this one, it doesn't. This one is like full on.
It is full on. Yeah. So it dives into her mouth and then it starts eating her brains from the
inside out. And then, but it's the recoil when it comes, like, so basically, it is like a full on porno shot of like this thing in her mouth just going back and forth. And then it kind of recoils back in, but all this globby stuff comes out of her mouth. And then it like leaves like a remnants on his crotch as it goes back inside of his pants, and you're like, oh. And like, you know, it's probably
I want to know where it's come from.
It's probably what we used to use when we made horror films, which was like rice pudding and food colouring. You know? It's just like globby, gloopy stuff.
And I like this because like Aylmer's like fucking high at this point as well. And he's like, we'll eat them. We'll get hookers. I'll eat 1 million of them or something. Like he goes full on like mad, and that's when the old man comes back in, Morris, who tries to reclaim Aylmer and tries to kill for him.
Well, Brian's taking off his pants because they're like covered in blood, so he like takes his trousers off and puts his pants in the bin, and then that's when he meets the old man,
who he delivers a lot of exposition, which I don't think we particularly needed. But
they call it the Maltese Falcon bit because it's like very exposition heavy.
It really was. It's like, and they're saying that Aylmer's been through history, been like at the side of kings and something. Whatever. They give a lot of lore to this slug dildo thing, like, about how it's
about how he found it and tracked it down and stuff like that.
Yeah. And he wants to come back, and Elmar's just moaning that Morris just keeps him weak on animal brains, and convinces Brian that, like, it's kind of weird. He convinces Brian that some of the awful memories he's had, because Brian can't really remember everything that's happening because he's high all the time.
Yeah.
So he tells him that all those memories are they're fine and they didn't really happen anyway, kind of thing. He just kind of like, just ignore that. It's great. We're having a good time. It doesn't really matter. Like, and Brian now is starting to kind of cut on to the fact that this slug thing is killing people around him. He doesn't really get it until then, I think, because he's meant to be high out of his mind. But that's when Aylmer kind of turns on him, which I thought was really cool.
I was going to say, though, do you know what other film it kind of reminded me of a little bit? Little Shop of Horrors, kind of.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Like
yeah.
you know, it starts killing people and stuff like that, and kind of, what's Rick Moranis' character in that?
Seymour,
yeah. Seymour starts to become famous, and like that's like his high in it, is like he starts to become somebody, and he wins the affection of the girl and stuff. But like the plant is kind of like a parasite to him, isn't he? And kind of I thought that's quite, and I kind of want to see a musical of Brain Damage. We've already got one song in it already, so we're halfway there.
Well, that's a bit now, because this point is when, like, they're kind of trapped in that horrible hotel room, and he's telling Brian that, like, you're mine now, Brian. You're going to do anything I want you to do, because you are going to start begging me for my drugs well before I need to feed again.
Yeah.
And I kind of like how sinister it is. I really do. Like, I like how evil, like, Aylmer is at this point. And when he's just basically been a joke until this point, really. I mean, a joke that's killing people, but still. And like the kind of, one, the song, but two, the kind of scene when Brian's hallucinating about, like, he's pulling that tendril out of his ear.
Body horror thing, isn't it? It's just never ending. Like one of those like clown things pulling like the rope out, like the ribbon out, that's never ending. Yeah,
and then all of a sudden falls off, and then as his ear falls off, it just gushes blood everywhere, and like it's really cool. It's really funny. It's really cool though, and at that point, like, he kind of succumbs to Aylmer, doesn't he? And he's just like, look, and he ends up begging Aylmer to give him more drugs, and they'll go feed. Like,
the makeup's great though on him, I think, because he looks so sinewy and kind of like pasty,
sickly and thin and weird, and Elmar's kind of just like taunting him and singing and sitting in that little sink.
But like, this hotel is one of those proper grotty like hotels. like it's like, that one where that girl probably, she died, unfortunately, in America, the
Cecil.
The Cecil. It's kind of, you imagine it was like one of those kind of hotels.
I bet, yeah.
Yeah,
proper Skid Row hotel, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have the most homoerotic scene ever. Does he go to a gay bathhouse, or is he just managed to find...
No, I think it's a communal shower in this hotel.
Yeah, I think it's a gay bathhouse. I'm sure it's meant to be a gay bathhouse.
I don't think so.
Yeah, but that's what communal showers sometimes were. I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know. Whatever. All I know, I just think it was in the hotel.
I just think the muscly guy is expecting someone to hook up, I think. Right. And he's the muscly guy is kind of weirded out by the fact that this guy's being such a creep, and that's why he keeps saying back to him, like, don't worry, man, no one will bother you here, kind of thing. He keeps trying to like encourage him and relax Brian as he's showering, and Brian's just standing about 2 feet behind him, just staring at him. And I was just watching it going, oh, please nothing happen. I don't want like an anal thing going on now. I don't need that. And it doesn't actually go there, which I thought was quite weird. Like, it's because it's had so much sexual violence in the film from Aylmer already, the hooker scene. I expect you kind of, your mind goes to the fact that it's going to be kind of homosexual, like sexual violence. it's kind of funny that it doesn't quite go there. But it's kind of funny how the film makes you think that. Like, the film knows you think you're thinking that as well, which I just thought was quite good, I guess. Like, it was a good use of that scene anyway. Which is funny. It definitely goes there anyway. But instead of the big muscly guy, he ends up finding a guy going to the toilet instead. And I kind of love that kill because there's just blood spraying all over the cubicle.
It's just kind of over the top of the toilet stall. It's just spraying everywhere like reckless abandon.
Brian's kind of like leaning over, going like almost like trying to shush it down, you know, like trying to like shh, someone will catch us. And there's like just blood spurting over the top of the cubicle and up the walls, and like,
yeah, it was great.
It's good.
Again, it's just like the thing just like embedded in the skull of the guy, and he's just kind of flailing about for a bit.
Flailing everywhere. And then you get to the point, basically, like he goes back home, and at that point his brother and his girlfriend have got together, and Brian's just completely checked out. He doesn't care. It barely even registers to him. He thinks it's a good thing, you know, like it's he tries to like rambly kind of explain Aylmer to them, which obviously makes no sense to this two that aren't aware of anything that's going on. And he's just like, I didn't know he was eating brains, but now he needs to eat brains, and he gives me these drugs that I can't live without, or something like that. And it's the most rambly kind of weird explanation that no one could possibly like kind of understand. But he just kind of, after like half explaining himself, he kind of just bails on them, doesn't he? And tries to leave them. I think he said like, he goes like, it won't matter who you are, I think is what he keeps saying to them. Like, it won't matter who you are, he'll kill you, kind of thing. It doesn't matter who you are to me. Like, yeah.
So then she follows him to the subway, doesn't she?
Yeah.
And then he puts Aylmer in his mouth. You don't quite see it, but like he suggests that for some reason he puts it in his mouth. Oh, we've missed a scene as well where Aylmer is just like kind of like, Brian's lying in bed, and Aymar's just kind of like in his crotch area, just moving around, which made me laugh. But anyway, so yeah, he's put Aylmer in his mouth, and so his girlfriend's chatting to him on the subway. But every time just before they pass under a bridge or whatever, when it goes dark, you see Aylmer like popping out of his mouth, bats wanting to attack her. Those effects are pretty bad.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Like, every time she looks away, he opens his mouth and it kind of goes like, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. It's like so badly animated.
It's so weird. And then like she looks back and it just dives back into his mouth again. Like, yeah. But it's really unclear at this point how much Brian's aware of anything.
Yeah.
Like, he seems completely checked out. And she's trying to like, kind of like talk to him and explain serious issues and like try and like connect to him, and Brian's not really there anymore, I think is the best way to put it. Like, he's not really responding to her.
He's just a vessel really for Aylmer.
Yeah. I think. And but she leans over to kiss him, and that's a mistake because there's a slug thing in his mouth.
Well, hang on, before that, some of the people enter onto the subway cart, and one of them happens to be holding a big wicker basket. Yeah,
where have we seen this wicker basket before?
But it's the same actor, and it's just, you know, it's meant to be the character.
The same basket. It's the same basket as well.
Well, apparently they couldn't find the right basket at first. It took them a while to track down the correct basket. Yeah.
Yeah, I recognise the actor from Basket Case. Actually, he's very like identifiable. What's his guy's name again? Is it Kevin something?
Kevin Van Henenlotter. I'm terrible at pronouncing.
Yep, that's what it is. Whatever you say it is what it is.
Kevin Van Henenlotter. His name is Dwayne Bradley in the film. There you go.
But kind of, he's just a very identifiable guy, like with his big hair and like kind of sunken features in his face. Like,
apparently there's a wig in this. Like, apparently he cut all his hair off, and they're like, "Ah, shit!" So that's to stick a wig on his head.
To stick a wig on him for the very important cameo.
Yeah. I'm surprised they didn't even have it open up a little bit or something.
No. It's just he sits on the train and does he see Aylmer pop out and go blah blah blah? Is that what he's seeing? But basically gives him a bit of an eye and goes, that's weird, and gets off the subway.
Yeah. And then there's a lady as well that's because they're watching as he's making out with her.
Yeah.
Well, they're not. Well, Aylmer's obviously entered in through her head.
Yep.
Into the brain.
She gave him. I was quite shocked, if I'm honest. I didn't quite expect them to kill the girlfriend that readily on the train. Like, I expected a bit. I expected it would have had something more to it or something.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, they would have got off the subway. She would have followed him, and even more. And should have been involved in the final scene.
Yeah, I definitely expected to be involved in whatever the final thing was. Definitely. But it was I think it was quite effective. Honestly, the way like she leans in to kiss him, and then she's screaming as like Aylmer's eating her brain, and Brian's just completely checked out at this point. He's not even really feeling her dying. It feels very hopeless. It feels very like nihilistic. It feels very like pathetic. It's not something I'm quite used to in these kind of exploitation, like what do you call them? Like big shock kind of horrors.
Yeah.
It was much more of a kind of like nuance to that kind of horror that I was expecting, basically. And I just thought I did think it was quite effective.
Well, I think maybe
it got
because
to me.
aside from the thing popping out of his mouth before that, it was kind of it wasn't effects heavy or anything like that. It was just literally she had blood in her mouth, and like it's just a bit more visceral in that way. It just feels a bit more realistic and a bit more horrific. Like it's
it does. It bounces between those kind of different elements of like shock. The big loud splatter stuff and the stupid humor, which I genuinely found funny.
Yeah.
And then like the it has a bit of a pathos, a bit of a scary kind of like core to it as well. Yeah.
So the scene that follows this is this back in the courtyard then now, and he's
it's the old couple, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and he's attacked by the old
couple come back to reclaim Aylmer, and Aylmer's just at full strength now.
Yeah.
He's like just killing it, and nothing can like does he attack the older lady first, and he jumps on her head.
Well, there's another guy, isn't there, that gets killed? I think who gets shot, isn't there?
Oh yeah, yeah, sure.
That kind of like probably like is not a landlord or whatever, but like a person who works around the apartment block or something. I can't remember. There's someone who gets shot or whatever. But yeah, the old lady gets killed first, and then I think he attacks the old man, but doesn't quite kill the old man.
Yeah. They basically hold him up at gunpoint and try and steal him back. But as soon as the old lady gets her, she jumps on her and feeds on his brain, and then after like it jumps on the old man's neck, Brian kind of interrupts him feeding, and he's like begs him for more like juice, for more like hallucinogenic juice, and so Aylmer does that, and then as Aylmer's feeding him drugs, the old guy gets up again,
just squeezes him.
Yeah, he just grabs Aylmer, doesn't he, and just starts squeezing him until he basically pops.
I do like that scene though, where Brian's back in his bedroom, and like I think he sees his brother's like, what's happening, and then all of a sudden his head like explodes, and just
it doesn't explode. It's because
light's pouring out of his head, like
it's because he shoots himself, doesn't he? He tries to kill himself, but he's had like basically because like Aylmer was on his head when the old man was crushing him. It kind of forced in all of like Aylmer's like hallucinogenic drugs into his brain. And then when he gets back to his room, he's got a huge cyst on the side of his head that's like just like full of all of this like hallucinogenic drugs. So he basically points a gun at it, and he fires, and it explodes. But then when it cuts back to Brian, instead of that being blood or brains, it's just light energy like
effect,
pouring out of it. It's great. Yeah,
broken up head, like almost like an egg cracked open or something.
Yeah. with like electricity firing everywhere and the police are outside and stuff like that. And that is just literally how it ends. Like there's no... That's it. Just a kind of like end, like a very kind of like Tales of the Crypt type ending to me.
Well, I mean, like I was saying to you that the first cut was like 65 minutes. It just shows that this could have been a Tales from the Crypt's like 60
it could have
short film. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely could have.
I'm kind of surprised it's not been remade or anything, because I think it's a genuine, a little gem. I really did enjoy it.
Honestly, think it's a gem. I agree. I absolutely agree. I was not expecting to just like it as much as I did. I'm not expecting to find as much in it as I did as well. Like, and just...
I just think
like that's...
the amount of character they put into Aylmer, I think is just it just makes it work. You know, had it not been like, we missed one great scene as well, like where Brian's hallucinating and he kind of has like all the kind of suction pads on him, and there's like a three-way with his brother and his girlfriend and him, isn't there, or something like that?
I don't think I remember that. It must have gone out of my head.
Do you remember? So he pictures himself with all the suction pads on his chest and stuff, like showing that they're both becoming like one more so. Yeah.
No, you're right. The effort they put into Aylmer is what makes it work. Like, just the physicality of that puppet and the animatronics and stop motion when they use it and the detail and stuff like that makes that character so full. And a weird threat, you know, a weird character and something really memorable. I've got that dialogue scene, by the way, that one I've been trying to remember.
Oh, go on then.
So it goes, "When it comes to blood in my underwear, I want to know how it got there." And he goes, "It's no big deal, nothing to get upset about. It came from a girl at the club." "What girl?" "That girl whose brains I ate." "What?" "The blood came from the girl whose brains I sucked out." "You sucked out her brains?" "Yeah, right through her mouth." "Is she dead?" Like, I just thought that's brilliant. It
is a well-written film, and it's just just a very tight script that kind of, there's no fat on it or anything like that. It's very concise. It's just a really enjoyable watch. And if you go to HMV, it's only $7.99 on Blu-ray at the moment.
Yeah, it's not the easiest film to find, which is a shame.
You can get it in the shops.
Has it got an Arrow release or something?
Yeah, I've got it in my hand right here.
Oh, awesome.
The cover's great. It's kind of got Brian he's got doing the happy face from when he's in the nightclub, and it's just got Aylmer like popping over his back. There's I just love those close-ups of his jaw opening. It's like sliding down. It's almost like one of those old phones, you know, the ones from like the Matrix. That kind of slide down. It's like that. And then all these little spikes come out and just like loads of little like tendrils kind of.
Yeah, these little weird tiny teeth and tendrils, and
it's those eyes though, dude. Like they're just they're like little doll's eyes.
It's worth saying as well, like the guys that did the visual effects on this went on to have a huge career in Hollywood as well.
Did they?
They did a lot of different stuff. I can't pull up their names from the top of my head, but they ended up working quite extensively throughout like different things, which I just think is cool. Like, which I think you can tell the guys knew what they were doing when you watch this. Like,
yeah, for sure. No, it was a great film. I really enjoyed it. So, what would you give it out of 5?
I don't know what I rated it actually. I wonder what I put down, because I probably wouldn't give it 5 out of 5, even though I kind of might as well have it. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, well,
does what it's supposed to do. Do you know what I mean?
What would you criticise that for? What do you like? Why would you bother? But I don't know why. I can't remember why.
I think I'm happy with a 4, and it's like a good solid 4 out of 5.
How did I not log it?
I don't know.
What? I haven't
Get it logged. Doesn't count unless it's logged.
No, the gods of Letterboxd are going to yell at me. I think it's an absolute solid 4 for me. Yeah. Like, it really is. Like, just just fine. Everything is good. I love Aylmer. I couldn't believe how much I just enjoyed watching it. And I love like Tales from the Crypt. I love those kind of anthology horror shows. They're some of my favorite TV actually. And the kind of stupid puppetry and morale tales and stuff like that in horror I love that kind of stuff, and this has all that, and it does feel like a bit of a feature length kind of Tales from the Crypt.
100%, yeah.
And that's to its credit for me. This is no insult whatsoever. I think that's to its absolute credit. So yeah, I loved it. Thank you, James. I can't believe I never heard of this before.
Yeah, I hope you enjoy it as well.
Yeah.
So this is like the first part in our little horror season. So I think we're going to go back all the way to the 30s, I think, for the next one. Have you decided what we're going to watch yet?
I think we'll do a classic Universal.
Yeah,
I think, like, and you know, we're bridging our 80s to our 30s series with the horror season. I
like it. That works. I like it.
Which is fun. So, we could do Bride of Frankenstein.
I haven't seen that, so I'd definitely like to watch that.
I have seen it, but it's a special season. It's a season for horror.
It is,
and I wouldn't mind watching it again. So
pumpkin spice.
So we could go back and pumpkin spices and all the rest. I ran out of words. It's late.
And thank you very much for everyone listening out there. And please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on whatever you listen to us on. You can reach out to us on Twitter. We are at Adjust Your Track. That's with a YR, not a your. And yeah, don't forget, if the picture's bad, always adjust your tracking.